welcome to the Say Yes to What's Next podcast, where embracing change can ignite a world of possibilities. Hey now, I'm your host, Elise Ancel, and welcome back to this week's episode, Just Couldn't Connect. Have you ever poured your heart into something, a friendship, a job, a relationship, only to feel like no matter how hard you tried, you just couldn't make it click? You gave it your all. You were intentional about the time, the energy, the investment, thinking it would eventually solidify. And yet, despite your best efforts, it didn't. Trust me, I've been there. It's frustrating, isn't it? Feeling like you're doing all the right things, but the connection still just feels out of reach. Sometimes we stay in those situations hoping things will change, but over time, the cracks widen and you're left asking yourself, is it worth the cost? Is this where my energy is supposed to go? Or is there something, someone, or somewhere better waiting for me to arrive? Let's talk about it. It's tough when something you truly want just doesn't connect the way you hoped. You put in the effort, the time, the patience, maybe even compromised a little here and there, thinking if you just held on long enough, it would eventually click. But no matter what you did, it never quite fit. And that's a hard reality to face because we're often taught that efforts lead to results. But what if the result you're chasing isn't actually for you? It's easy to get so caught up in making something work that you don't even realize how much of yourself you're losing in the process. Maybe you've convinced yourself that if you just adjust a little more, change a little more, shrink a little more, you'll finally fit. But at what cost? The danger of trying too hard to belong somewhere you were never meant to stay is that over time, you start forgetting who you were before you got there. You get so wrapped up in the effort that you lose sight of the fact that not every door is meant to stay open and not every connection is meant to last. And let's be real, staying in a space where you don't truly connect can be exhausting. You feel it, even if you don't always admit it. The frustration, the self-doubt, the questioning of why things aren't clicking no matter what you do. And maybe, just maybe, that's the sign you've been ignoring. Sometimes the things that resist us the most aren't meant to be fought through. They're meant to be released. That's where the cost comes in, because everything you hold on to that isn't meant for you is taking up space, mental space, emotional space, even physical space. And the longer you hold on, the more it drains you. But what if that energy was meant for something else? What if, instead of forcing something that's resisting you, you directed that energy into the places and people that are actually aligned with your purpose? The truth is, when something is right, it doesn't require endless struggle just to keep it from falling apart. Of course, everything does take effort, but there's a difference between working through challenges in a healthy way and constantly trying to prove your worth just to be seen, heard, or valued. When you're in the right space, things flow. You don't have to twist yourself into something you're not. You don't have to fight to belong. And when you finally step away from what was never really meant for you, you'll realize something. You were never lacking. You were never the problem. You were just trying to stay in a place that couldn't hold all that you are. And now it's time to take all that energy, all that effort, and pour it into something that sees you, welcomes you, and has been waiting for you all along. Think about it. Are there areas in your life where you've been pushing too hard to make a connection work? Maybe it's a friendship, a job, or a relationship. Take a moment to consider if the energy you're investing is being returned or if it's leaving you feeling drained. Now let's reflect on something you might be holding on to. Is it costing you more than it's giving back? Sometimes what we cling to can block us from what's waiting just beyond. Finally, imagine redirecting your energy. If you weren't spending so much time and effort on something that isn't working, where would you invest it instead? What possibilities could unfold if you shifted your focus to areas that better align with your purpose and values? As we wrap up this episode, let's remember that connections are meant to flow naturally, not forcefully. When something isn't aligning, it doesn't mean you failed. It means you're making room for what's truly meant for you. Growth often requires us to release what no longer serves us so we can step into the spaces where we do belong. So, take a deep breath and trust that your next is waiting, ready to welcome you with open arms. The energy you free up by letting go will guide you toward opportunities, relationships, and paths that feel like home. You've got this, one intentional step at a time. Until the next time, thanks for joining me today. Stay tuned, and I'll catch you in the next episode of Say Yes to What's Next. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Until the next time.